episode of Present Truth with Tom Stapleton up here at Camp to Meet. Today we're talking about, is Islam in Bible prophecy?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I would say that Islam would have to be in Bible prophecy. It's 1/4 of the U.S. population, and I don't think God would overlook that. And considering that they are from the seed of Abraham, there's a good chance that they would fit in Bible prophecy.
Now, they're also a nation motivated by religion to the nth degree. That's pretty significant. Not all nations are, you know.
Right. Yeah, it is significant. And the promise to Abraham that he would make Ishmael a great nation, we can see in the world today with the Islamic nations. They're huge, 1.5 billion strong. And this would be a fulfillment, in my mind, of the promise given to Abraham for Ishmael, because he was concerned about Ishmael. He's going to send him away. And God promised him that he would take care of him. And certainly they are going to play a role in biblical prophecy.
Right. Okay, well, we have 3 questions. The first one is, we have some articles. These 2 articles, one is an article from Rouhani, and then the other one's from the Ayatollah Khomeini. Now, these came out in the last couple of days here, mid-November.
Right.
What are these articles? And then the next question is, how do they fit into prophecy? These articles, this information, and the details given.
Right. Well, it's no surprise to our followers and most Christians, no surprise that Israel has been placed in the Middle East as a result of many years of work behind the scenes, and it culminated after the Second World War in 1948 when there was a nation, a state, lines were drawn, the state of Israel. And so it's no surprise. But the Muslims, most people don't look at it the way the Muslims look at it, because Israel was non-existent before that, and the Palestinians controlled that land. And then basically the UN said, okay, you're out, and Israel's in. And the way the Muslims look at it is it's their right to that land, and it's basically been stolen. And they consider the United States and Great Britain enemies to them, and this is one of the reasons they have been instrumental in displacing Muslims from the heartland, the heart of the Arab world, really, when you look at where that is. So they're looking at this as a political thing, but it's also a religious thing, and that's why they're trying to unite the Arab world, and that's what we're seeing in the news today, and that's what these articles are. They're by the President Rouhani of Iran. He's kind of doing a shame on you, Islam, for basically walking away from the Palestinian cause and their right to the state, to have their own state.
Right. Okay. And so we've got these 2 articles. You had some quotes that you wanted to share. If you can do that now if you want. So the first question again, what is the significance of these specific articles?
The significance is really this. Islam, the religion of Islam has a mandate, just as Christianity does. And most of us know it, but I'm just going to read from the book of Jeremiah, and most of us are familiar with this. Jeremiah chapter 31, starting at verse 31, very easy one to remember. It's the new covenant promise. It says, behold, the days are coming, says Jehovah, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, says the Lord. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith Jehovah, I will put my law in their minds and write them on their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. No more shall every man teach his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, saith the Lord. And I will forgive their iniquity, and their sin I will remember no more. Now really what this is basically what Yeshua said, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So there will be a time coming that we will no longer have to teach people about God because everyone will know him. And that's the great commission that Yeshua gave to his people. Go into all nations, teaching them to observe, right? So that's just so at some point, the promise that Yeshua made is going to be realized and his kingdom will come on earth. We all know that as Christians. Well, the thing is, Islam has a mandate very similar to that. Now, as Christians, we believe the second coming of the Messiah is very soon.
Absolutely.
Now, what we don't understand is Islam has the same concept that Allah will rule this earth. And they believe that that is going to happen very soon. And so you see two great religions birthed out of Abraham, both believing that their story is correct.
And both believing that they're in the end times
And
right now.
both believing that they are in the end times. That's why we see the ISIS type of, they're just a little more radical than a lot of them. But they basically believe, and they all don't believe exactly the same, just as Christians don't all believe exactly the same. Some believe that it's going to come in peaceably, the Islamic plan, that Allah will rule, and Sharia law, most people don't understand this, is that they believe the end result of all of this will be Sharia law everywhere on the planet, and if you don't convert to Islam, you will have to be put to death. It's just that simple. So people like Islam, they're just going to work right away ISIS and groups like this. They're just going to work right now and getting the job done.
Well, there's some crazy parallels there between, you're absolutely right, between the Christian mandate and the Muslim mandate. We believe that Yeshua was the door, and through him no one's going to enter the kingdom. And so Christianity will pervade and prevail at the end of time, and they believe exactly the same thing, that Sharia law will be the threshold to which people will be accepted into their eternity, whatever that is.
Right. So Sharia law, in the end of the Bible in Revelation chapter 22, it tells us that the ones that have right to the tree of life are those that keep the commandments. So the law, as far as the Mosaic law and so on, is very much a part of those that will enter the kingdom. So you see the parallels.
Even that too.
It's exactly the same. And so how they accomplish their end game is quite a bit different than Christianity. Christianity is not going to be called upon, at least for the most part, the way I understand it, they're not going to be called upon to bring execution on unbelievers.
Right, we don't believe that.
We're going to let Yeshua take care of all of that. That's his mandate. He's going to deal with that. But where Islam believes that they can actually bring war to finish up the work, to bring Allah as the center.
Okay, say that again, because that's about the most sobering thought that we have.
Yeah, it's Islam believes that they will bring on war in the time of the end, so that they can usher in their rule, the rule of Allah, into this planet. And so they the way they get to their end is different than the way we get to our end. And that's what should be a concern to us. And that's what we've been trying to share with people. We've just released a new video. Catholics, I love, all of the people, Indian people, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But it's the ideology that is the problem. It's what these people believe is what's dangerous.
Yeah.
And this is where really the problem is. So this video, this prophecy update, covers this, shows us where we're going as far as prophecy goes. It shows how Islam will play a major part in the prophecies of the time of the end, which we are entering into.
Right, and just a note for our watchers, that prophecy update video, which will be linked, and you'll see it here, it was produced about a month ago, maybe a little bit more. These articles came out just a few days ago, so these articles are, again, reinforcing everything that was in that presentation. This is a, short video. That's a longer video, but consider this somewhat of a teaser, so to speak, to be interested in putting the rest of the dots together in a longer video. So go back and watch that other presentation if this is piquing your interest.
Right. I just want to I want to quote a couple things out of this article,
Right.
because a lot of people just don't understand what's going on. They know that the United States is really pressuring Iran. They don't want a drop of oil coming Iran. They want to totally break the economy of Iran so that they don't have any money to do anything.
Right.
They want to bring regime change and this, because they know more than we do. They actually understand some of these things, but they can't say it on the news. But they're trying to contain the ideology of what's coming out. Now, in this article, this President Rouhani, it says, it is a strategic mistake in the Islamic world when some see Israel as their friend. It is very unfortunate that some Islamic countries that are supposed to be steadfast against their enemies for the benefit of the world of Islam and the benefit of their own people have extended a hand in friendship to Israel. Now, this is not about the Jews. This is what we need to understand. They've made statements that they want to throw Israel into the sea and destroy it and stuff. We're taking that out of context. They are not talking about killing all Jews. They're talking about Zionism. Zionism is the problem. And Zionism says that the Jews will rule and that they will be at the forefront. You see how this conflicts with their view of the end.
So we have Christianity with one sort of endgame mandate,
Yes.
Islam with another one, and now the Jews have another one called Zionism.
Well, let's just not say all the Jews, because they recognize not all the Jews. There's Jews in high places and high religious places that don't believe in Zionism, and they speak out against it. It gets them into lots of trouble, but they speak out against it. So Zionism is a portion of the Jewish people, and that's what they're against.
Okay.
And these articles say that, but we take it out of context and we say, oh, they hate all Jews. That is not true. It is not true.
Who's he talking about when he says strategic mistake in the Islam world when countries?
It's unfortunate that some Islamic countries are supposed to be steadfast against their enemies.
Who's he
Is that-
talking about?
Some Islamic countries. Okay, so we want to kind of nail this down. What he's referring to explicitly is countries like Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and even Egypt to a degree. These countries have made alliances, so to speak, with Israel and the United States for reasons which we don't have time to get into.
Right.
But he's referring to those, and he's actually saying that they have basically abandoned the Palestinians for Israel and the United States. So it's a rebuke to the other Arab nations. Now, the Arab Spring, which was happened in the last 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years, started. But it actually started in Iran in 1979. This is a lot of people that are younger don't realize this, but that's where it started. It was called the Islamic Awakening. And the Islamic Awakening has been happening. It's been slow, but it's starting to pick up speed. That's the thing. So it's coming. It's just like the Christians. The gospel is to go to all the world, and it says then the end will come.
Right.
So the Islamic Awakening is the same thing as taking the gospel. They're trying to unite the Islamic nations to finish the work that they believe they have to do.
Right.
And this is what Iran is doing. This is what they're behind, and this is what all of this is all about, is they're finishing their work. At the same time, Christianity is trying to finish their work as well.
Okay. So this is Rouhani. Would you call it a dig, or would you call it a veiled?
I would say it's a rebuke.
A rebuke.
I'd say it's a rebuke. It's just like a Christian leader calling out another Christian leader and saying, hey, what are you doing? You're not helping the cause here. And so that's what it is. He's trying to, if you will, call him to repentance.
Yeah.
And he's trying to wake the people that your leaders are taking you down a path that you really don't want to go, because you should be more bonded to Islam than those in America and Israel.
So what kind of pressure would that put on Saudi Arabia? What kind of?
Well, where it puts pressure on is other countries, and this is another thing that Turkey is starting to see. Iraq is starting to see. Syria is starting to see. Lebanon, there's mass chaos in
Yeah.
Lebanon right now. And this is all revolving around this. It's totally all revolving. Turkey has made statements that they believe Israel is like, they refer to them as Hitler and the Third Reich, executing people and doing away with people. And they're more aligning themselves with the thought of Iran, the thoughts that are coming out of Iran. So this is what we're seeing in the Islamic world is one by one, they're joining forces. Now, if you were to look at a map and see what's going on, and I do this in the presentation, that Saudi Arabia is becoming surrounded,
Yeah.
if you will, by this influence that Iran is putting out there, is they should join. Islam should join. And they talk about it in the article that there's this Shia phobia. It's the Iranian, that's what religion is, Shia Islam. This is portrayed in the Arab world, but he says it shouldn't be a Shia phobia, it shouldn't be a Sunni phobia, it should be a phobia basically of Israel, and
Yeah.
they should be united on that, and the two sects of Islam should unite. And we see this, some people say, well, that'll never happen. Well, it happened in Christianity. Protestants today have lost the concept of what a Protestant is. They are joining themselves, all of Christianity is now joining itself together for the common good. And we see the same thing is going to happen in Islam too. For the common good of Islam, they will unite.
Man, and that was actually one of the next quotes. You have one there. Some Islamic countries that are supposed to be steadfast against their enemies for the benefit of Islam.
And I'll just have to find that here.
And then you had another one.
Well, here's one here. Rouhani said that Iran was at the forefront of the struggle against the arrogance and the Zionist regime, alongside Palestinians, Syrians, Iraqis, and expressed his country's enmity toward the U.S.
Wow.
So this isn't a secret. And they're trying to unite against the U.S. And of course, Islam has been known for calling the U.S. the great Satan and Israel as the little Satan. And so they're opposed. They're opposed. And they're coming right out and saying it very clearly. Yeah.
So now, not to get into too much, because I know that this is in detail in your presentation, but this fits in Bible prophecy because it's putting the dots together in Daniel.
Right.
The idea that Saudi is eventually going to break their allegiance with the United States in order to become allied with the larger picture of Islam
Right.
with Iran and Iraq.
Right. So if the whole of Islam is going to unite, which the prophecies seem to indicate, then Saudi Arabia is going to have to flip. And some of these countries that are allied with the United States and making deals with them will have to change. And that's really what's going to bring on the trouble, because when there's a unification of Islam, they will make their move because they're going to think it's time for them to move because the end has come. And that's really what's going on.
Wow. And then you had some quotes from the Ayatollah Khomeini that you mentioned. There was one here that was of a specific interest to me, but you had a few that you wanted to read. One was, Israel is a usurping enemy.
Right. Yeah.
And then, if you go ahead.
Yeah. He talks about, Khomeini went on to complain that there are Islamic countries with Muslim nations but remiss rulers who ally with Zionist regime rather than opposing it and fight against Muslims. So he's calling them out on the same thing as the president. So this is the highest religious authority who governs everything. Nothing happens in Iran that doesn't go through him. So this is the highest authority. The president is the second, and they're both saying exactly the same things. Khomeini is a little stronger because he's from the religious aspect, so he's stronger.
He's not political.
Yeah, right. Rouhani's more political. But Rouhani he gets into the religious aspect of it. So he's really, laying another charge against countries such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates as betraying the Islamic trust and making alliances with Western nations, and they're fighting against Muslims. So this is
Yeah.
another thing, yeah.
And then there was another one in that same article.
Just find that. Yeah. Yeah, the deal of the century. President Trump talked about the deal of the century, the peace deal with Palestine and Israel. He said the deal of the century is a major act of treason against the world of Islam. We thank Muslim and Arab countries and Palestinian groups that oppose the deal. We hope the Bahraini and Saudi rulers will understand what a quagmire they're stepping into and how harmful it will be for them. So he's really, there's no secret as to what he's talking about there.
That's getting serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my last question is, we see articles coming from the Middle East constantly on a daily basis. This is probably thousands. So what was it about these two? And if our listeners are interested in sort of keeping an ear to the ground regarding what's going on prophetically in the Middle East, what are the
Right.
red flags that brought this one out to you? And so that, we can all be listening.
Right. There's lots of ideas about what how the prophecies are going to be played out. Like some people think that, China and Russia are going to join forces with Islam and they're going to fight the United States and all these different ideas. So people are looking at all these different articles that are indicating some of this stuff. And while there are tensions between Russia and the United States and China, and the tensions are building, and so most people are thinking, oh, well, there's going to be a world war and so on. Yeah, there will be a world war, but it will be primarily against Islam. Now, what people don't understand is, yeah, there will be a world war, the Armageddon, so to speak, Gog and Magog, but that's not yet. We're looking at a major war, or world war, that will basically encompass the West and Islam. Now, most people think that Russia and China will fight together against the West, but this is not what the prophecies actually indicate. I'm talking about the first thing. The
Right.
first thing that we're looking at.
And that's Matthew 24.
Matthew 24, it says there will be wars and rumors of wars. Then Yeshua points us back to Daniel. And so we're looking for a war or a rumor of war in Daniel for the beginning of the time at the end, because it's all chronological order.
Okay.
So we look for a war in the book of Daniel. Well, we see war happen in Daniel chapter 8 and also Daniel chapter 10 through 12. And these wars are against this power from the West and the kings of Media and Persia. So this is where I really want to encourage people to watch this prophecy update. It's a 2-hour presentation. I don't want to scare you, but look, this is eternity that we're talking about. If these prophecies are important enough for Yeshua to come in person and deliver them, that's what he did in the book of Daniel. He shows up in Daniel. And also in the book of Revelation, this is the revelation of Yeshua. If these prophecies are that important for him to come, it's worth it for us to spend a little time, because eternity is a long time. Why not invest a little bit into some of these prophecies that he wanted his people to understand? So don't be scared of the 2 hours. Just watch it, get the information, and if you want to put up on YouTube that don't anyone watch this, you go right ahead. But I would encourage you to watch it and then watch the news, and you're going to see this stuff going on. Now, there's lots of fake news and lots of false flags and all this kind of stuff, and that's how we're going to know. If we know the prophecy, if we understand the prophecies, we're going to know which news to look at and which news is actually
Amen.
true.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was literally going to say that exact same. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's
That's
really
exactly it.
simple. And so I don't have to spend weeks and weeks and weeks trying to filter through all the different news articles. I know exactly. I know what the prophecy says, and we do it on that video. We go right through the prophecy, every verse, and we show what's going to happen. And then when you understand what's going to happen according to the Bible, then you can just throw away news articles that have nothing to do with it.
Right.
It makes it very simple. You don't have to spend all your time watching the news.
Yeah.
And that's where people go wrong. They be so consumed in the news, They no longer know what the Bible says.
Yeah, it's just
it's
they're
totally
flooding.
reversed. It's totally reversed.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, that's good. Just keep studying, everyone, and watch what's going on. We're looking for joining of the Islamic world. That nation that God promised Abraham to become very great is exactly what he said. It's coming to fruition now. And as the Muslims join hands, we're going to see them make their move for their end game.
Well, we sure appreciate that, Tom. Thank you so much for your dedication and for these presentations. And so again, go watch these videos. There are going to be some prophecy update videos on there. The most recent one was in the last 3 weeks.
Just a
that it
few
was
weeks,
posted?
yeah, it was a
Posted?
few weeks, yeah.
Okay, so you'll be able to
Just
find out.
posted it last night. We just got it all edited, just posted last night. So it's brand new
Okay, so brand new.
on YouTube, yeah.
So you'll know by the date. Now, if for any other information, you can contact ministry, email histruthseekersministry@gmail.com, and visit endtimesprophecy.com for everything from books, newsletters, updates, links to videos. You have some charts on there, some timeline charts, everything's on there. So
Right.
take a look at the website as well. Thank you again, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Until next time.